Are we in a balanced real estate market? Please explain why or why not. Your 45 seconds starting.
Man, it's really tough to say because I really do think this is market specific. So in the Phoenix market, Phoenix Metro, we are in a balanced market. The supply and demand are exactly the same. They're both low. So that's what's kind of odd. They're both well below what's normal, but supply and demand are even in Phoenix Metro. But man, once you get outside Loop 101, it's a disaster, right? If you the whole idea of drive till you qualify or drive until you can buy, that did not exist for the last 3 years. Right now, it's back, right? I mean, we're seeing the outskirts just getting absolutely crushed and demolished. And I actually had someone send me a deal like, hey, Steve, you think the market's doing all right? You should buy this house. I was like, okay, tell me about it. So I get some Buckeye. I'm out. I'm out. I already know. I've seen this movie before. The last time we had a recession, the outskirts just got demolished. And I think every market is going to be experiencing that.
Okay, let's go over to CJ. Are we in a balanced market or not?
No, I don't think we're in a balanced market at all. So I wrote a couple of stats down real fast. Like current national average days on market, 19 days, 70% sold in less than 30 days. There's 3 months of inventory. You want 6 to 12 months of inventory. So in effect, we still currently need housing. I think there's certain pockets, like Steve is saying, right, that are being more adversely affected than others, but there's still a need for housing in a lot of locations. There's still people seeking out housing. I had a conversation with my students yesterday about, congregating around places with military bases. I'm here in Virginia. Think about 757, for example, multiple military bases. People are getting orders every single day to come in, to come out. So you just got to think outside the box a little bit more to get to the places that you want to go. But no, I don't think the market's balanced at all.
Okay. Jimmy, your thoughts?
In the Midwest, not yet. I think we're still in a little bit of a gap between what the asset's really worth and what the seller still thinks it's worth. And then, I agree with CJ. We're still seeing an inventory shortage. So it's not as bad as like last year when you go on an appointment and the seller thought they were selling the Taj Mahal. They're starting to get a little more realistic, but I don't see most sellers getting really realistic till say December this year. But so what I'm seeing in the Midwest is no, we are not in a balanced market.
Okay. All right. And Leon G. Barnes, bring us home.
So I'm always looking at a perspective of nationwide, and everyone touched on this on local markets. From a nationwide perspective, the definition of balance is the distribution of weight so that things remain upright and steady. There's nothing steady or upright about a nationwide perspective of real estate right now. The conversations that I'm having on our weekly calls within our community, every single person is different. You'll have someone in Kansas City, days on markets have gone to 90 days, but ARVs have remained pretty solid, right? But they're just taking longer to sell. Where in Phoenix, where you guys are, there's a 25% change, and it's still not necessarily hit bottom in some of the markets like Phoenix, Boise, and others. So no, it's not balanced.
Okay. Voting is now open, and so is the floor.
Chris is saying shout out to the vegans. Get out of here. He's posting it in the chat.
Yeah, shout out to the vegans, man. Beyond Meat, Impossible Meat.
Man, this guy is just. He's not. He's running for office right now, right? He's saying whatever the people need to hear. Hey, Leon, when you say it's not balanced,
the chat.
Yeah. So Leon, you're saying it's not balanced, but you're saying it's buyer market, seller's market. What is that? What do you mean when you say it's not balanced, or when you say it's not a balanced market?
Well, there's all different types of things that I'm looking at from a nationwide perspective. From a seller's perspective, obviously it has changed dramatically, and from a buyer standpoint, obviously they've gone from 3% interest rate to 7%. So you do have it's more of a buyer's market than it is a seller's, but there's no balance across the board on anything that I'm seeing.
Yeah,
I think something to consider too, right, is like if you've got national home builder production essentially coming to a halt, right? They account for a large portion of the inventory that touches any type of any metro market. They account for a large portion of inventory. Those people still are going to be seeking housing somewhere, right? Like here in Richmond, tons and tons of builders here locally have essentially called a pause. They're calling it the Great Pause. And so I think there's still opportunities. I just listed a house yesterday. I haven't talked to my agent, so I don't know if we sold it or not. If he's watching, send me a text, man. Send me a text. But, hopefully we get it sold pretty fast. But when I listed last week, man, it flew off the shelf. So I think there's still opportunities there, but I think it's about having balance inside of the market. I think it's being aware of what price points make sense. And I think everybody needs to start looking at their business a little bit more macro, right? Like, it's not just, hey, any deal that comes across my desk, if it's got equity potential in it, I want to pick it up, I want to flip it, etc. It's more for me right now. What are the price point pockets within the submarket, right? So what submarkets within the market are actually moving and transacting right now? Here in Richmond, under a price point of $250,000, it looks really good right now. Stuff's flying off the shelf. If you go up to $350,000 right now in Richmond, it doesn't look so good. So you got to really go ahead.
I'm sorry, CJ, but I want to add that mid-luxury, right? That market right now across the U.S. and it varies. And Phoenix is different than or the mid above 300 in his marketplace, where it's that buyer that extra 3-4% really affects. But anything that's median or below, I'm selling those all day or still holding those assets. So from that standpoint, you can still move properties and you can still do the business, but it's just tightened.
And like when the first time home buyer decides to buy, they're going to buy. Now they're buying. They don't really care about the interest rate. Like, they're millennials, so I'm not really sure if they're smart enough to understand how it affects. But they're going to buy a smaller house now. They're still going to buy. They're like, oh, I got my Chihuahua and I got to have my fenced yard for my Chihuahua. And I'm living the millennial dream. I don't care what the interest rate is.
Yeah, Jimmy's a good person to talk about this. The guy does a couple hundred turnkey assets, and he's still selling, properties every single day. So I don't want people to that there's a buyer's opportunity here, but I don't want people listening and going, man, I should be afraid to flip, or I should be afraid to try to sell properties. You can still sell them.
Well, from the investor perspective, I still think the rents are unbalanced. Like, best thing for investors right now is the next 2 years, prices level, drop 5%, and then rent. I don't see any force that allows rents to come down. So we are still seeing rents come up, which is very interesting.
Well, I mean,
especially to CJ's point, builders are pausing.
Well, with interest rates going up, right? The cost of purchase is going up. So what's your alternative, right? You got to live somewhere. So if you're not buying, you're renting. If you're renting, the anchor, right, what you're comparing to is what's going to cost to buy this property. Here's what you're going to have to pay to rent this property. And Leon, you gotta fix your internet. I think looks like Frank and Chris are sharing internet or something. I don't know. Maybe just the way it is.
Shout out to Richmond City, man. Shout out to Richmond City.
The voting is currently open. It looks like just half of the amount of viewers in here are voting. So please make sure you vote right now for who you thought won that.
They're voting for the politician. This is ridiculous. They're voting.
Yo, shout out to the vegans, man. Shout out to the vegans.
Are you a vegan, Chris?
No, part-time. Only on Wednesdays, Jimmy. Only on Wednesdays.
I can't stand that people are vegan part-time. You either do and go hardcore. That's a bad idea, but at least I can respect your dedication.
That's fair. Look, Jimmy, I've been reading books.
You need your proteins to get into you got to get that protein into your brain, man.